with the recent yen trade unwinds that kind of just pummeled the markets, there's like an opportunity, I think, to kind of like zoom out and kind of do a checkpoint of like all of the crypto charts. So I'm sharing on the screen here 4 charts that I think are kind of emblematic of maybe perhaps the current state of crypto. We got the Bitcoin dominance chart, which has been up only for a year and a half now. We have the ETH BTC ratio, which has been down only for like 2 years. Sol ETH, which is painting new highs, and then Sol USD, just because Solana has kind of been one of the meta focuses of this particular cycle. I think this is hopefully just like kind of an opportunity just to look at these charts and get your interpretation as to like what the vibe is from a man who knows how to navigate charts. So maybe I know you always have pretty deep analytical takes because you are both following the crypto industry while also looking at the charts. When I present to you these 4 charts that are all like right next to each other on the screen here, what's the first kind of thought that comes to mind? What's the first thing you think about?
Yeah, I mean, I think first off, it's not too surprising that Bitcoin dominance has done well. I feel like a lot of well, let's back up the narrative just a tad. Like, I think a lot of people are wondering, is this cycle over and that kind of stuff. And I actually think that the cycle, if you will, has probably hardly begun. Not to get overly bullish, just to say like what we've done so far feels more like the experimental stage and the in between stage of what's probably a longer market cycle than we're historically accustomed to, where I think you'll look back at the ETF launches and some of the the changes in the ecosystem as more of the beginning of a cycle, or like a early cycle pause that feels, if you're trying to give a corollary, that's more like 2019-ish than anything else. Whereas there's a lot of people that they might have gotten rich and then poor again or whatever on meme coins or something. Like that feels like a smaller meta to me within a broader crypto macro cycle. Like what people think of when they think of, Bitcoin making new highs or stuff happening. I don't know if you see this, David, but I see this where like most people aren't really asking me about crypto at all in my real life. Like
Certainly.
they're not excited about buying crypto. They're not like, or even stocks in general, even though you've seen some amazing runs on like Nvidia and other things. I feel like overall, I would say relative to inflation in particular, like the real values of the stock market has really just been chugging along more so than, in some kind of state of euphoria or anything like that. And I think, Bitcoin's really been, or crypto has really been pretty modest as a whole. And it's been more of a zero sum game within crypto markets, and so some things have won and some things have lost, and a lot of things have round tripped. And what you're showing on the screen right now is more of what are the assets that have kind of showed up as dominant assets. And one of the biggest things that I think you're presenting here with Solana is like Ethereum did in the last market cycle starting in 2020. Solana is essentially entering the big boy table, where I think we can safely define Solana as a major, not purely by market cap or like total market cap, but like
Mind share.
mind share, development activity, people that care about it, like people that care about it no matter what the price is. It's not like it's survived a thing. It survived a hardship, like with the FTX failure and going, from a price perspective, going from 250 plus down to $8, and then has recovered, and forget whether it's in price exploration or something. It's just that it didn't really impact the fact that people cared about it and kept building on it. And I think that makes that's just as important as market cap in terms of it becoming a major. And so I think you create this network effect, this perpetual motion type of thing, where it is in a new arena, and it's not a cathedral, like it's more of a bazaar. Whereas a lot of these like defined L1s or L2 ecosystems are still like, well, hopefully if we build it, people will come. And you don't necessarily have like massive amounts of evidence of those doing so. And so I think like Sol ETH in particular, or even if you looked at Sol relative to anything, I think it's fairly well outperformed as its arrival, if you will. And then, but within that, that's the inner meta of Sol becoming a major. Sol's not at all time highs. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
ETH is not at ETH is not at all time high. ETH is underperformed, probably because we're not necessarily pulling in so many brand new people that because Sol has gained, ETH is actually it may have gained, but just not as quickly as Sol, so it's lost on a relative basis.
Mhm.
And Bitcoin has entered its own teenage years as a macro instrument to the legacy market, like, and that's thanks to the ETFs. And so, but a lot of this is still cyclical to me. I personally am like really bullish on all three of these assets. And so therefore seeing these swings in relative values is more fun than it is anything else, because if they were static, then there's no trade to be made. But when they're not static, it gives you an opportunity to identify value. And so that's kind of the framing that I would use for these before we dig into like the specifics of what do I think is going to happen next or whatever.
Let me throw some vibes at you that I think that you'll agree with, and so double check me if I'm wrong. Bitcoin dominance has been up for a year. ETH BTC has been down for 2 years. Solana has been on the uptrend for coming up to a year now. And I kind of think that because I definitely have started to move in more towards your side of the argument, of which we actually never have been in a market cycle. We're more in just like this period where crypto people are doing insular crypto things for the last 12 months. And as a result of that, because cycles historically have been defined as many new people come into the industry, retail comes in, there's a new game to play. Last cycle was NFTs. The cycle before was the ICO movement. We haven't had that. We've just had some crypto people doing crypto things inside of the crypto industry. And as a result, there's been some trends that haven't had any reason to change. The growth of Bitcoin dominance being like a very big one. And I also would say like Solana, the rise of Solana is like the actual exception that kind of makes the rule. Whereas Solana had this idiosyncratic moment with the FTX collapse, which like oversold it by a large degree, because it had believers in the Solana ecosystem even before FTX collapsed. And then it also rebounded alongside this like meme coin thing, which is this, again, insular, self-referential crypto activity that a lot of degens do, that also really kind of just went alongside the growth, the rebounding of Solana post FTX. Solana kind of all got re-rated at once with the double whammy of stopped being oversold in December of 2023 with a Jito airdrop, and then you had the addition of just like, well, it's got the current casino that the degens enjoy, which is the meme coins. And that's why while ETH BTC has been down for 2 years, Solana ETH ratio has been only up for 1 year. And that's kind of like the middle of the lull market. That's been like the thing that has like defined the last like 12 months or so. But meanwhile, we have there's no market cycle here. We are kind of just like in this limbo period waiting for new people to come in and actually define what a new cycle might look like. That's kind of a vibe. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. And I think Solana, it benefited from with meme coin mania, if you will. Maybe that was its like yams type moment for, like ETH DeFi emergence.
Right.
I don't know if it has as direct of a corollary, because I think what Solana is actually doing really well is capturing maybe like this DePIN market, or this corollary to like quasi real world assets or instrumentation, whereas ETH I think is really further establishing its dominance for like big boy financial markets. And what do those look like for ETH? Like the largest lend and borrow markets in the world can exist on ETH, and like there's things like I'm not shilling bags or anything. It's just like I'm trying to think of some, and I've been out of some of the main day to day. But if you think of like the Heliums of the world, like putting networks, real world networks on chain, and there's a lot of them. I think Solana's done a really good job of capturing some of that, and so I think you'll continue to see that, where like different blockchains start to serve very specific purposes for the sake of speed or for the sake of durability or for the sake of reliability, platforms will continue to choose certain assets over others. I've continued to be really impressed with like how well DeFi works all the time, no matter what you throw at it. Like if you look at a lot of like the Curve liquidation drama was pretty funny, like pretty sad, but like also kind of interesting. But how well like even curve oriented markets maintained themselves, much less like the derivative effects. If you look at Aave and other stuff, and Compound got attacked recently, and I guess figured it out. And like there's a good stuff happening on all chains, and I don't know. I'm kind of anti-maximalist, I guess, right. And especially so right now. But yeah, we're not seeing like the major narratives evolve and like seeing outside stuff come in, and even VC volume is down and things like that. Like despite price being good, these are all signs of this consolidation, early cycle or mid cycle type stuff, not late cycle type stuff. And I think all the late cycle doomers are wrong, basically.
If you enjoyed all of that, then you'll absolutely love the Bankless newsletter. Join over 300,000 fellow readers, all for free. Click below to sign up.